But do you think that this is a problem? I mean, do you think it's a problem that the White House, the FBI, the CDC, CISA has been found by multiple federal courts now to have violated the First Amendment with respect to the speech of individual Americans? I mean, does that strike you as problematic?
I certainly believe that everyone needs to follow court orders. So if there's been a court finding and a court directive, then all Americans, including the federal government, need to adhere to the court directive.
Well, do you think it's appropriate for the White House and other members of the federal government to meet with social media company executives and officials and try to coerce them to carry out the speech agenda of the White House? Do you think that's appropriate?
Welcome back to VOC. Today we're diving deep into a critical story that strikes at the heart of our constitutional rights. I'm talking about the Missouri v. Biden case, a bombshell lawsuit that exposes massive government censorship on social media. Trust me, what I'm about to share will make your jaw drop.
Mr. Dellinger, you were at the Office of Legal Policy for how long?
Approximately 2 years.
Yeah, I think I saw you in the Judiciary Committee before you took that job. Are you familiar with this case, Missouri versus Biden?
Not in detail. That was handled, the civil appellate, the Office of Solicitor General would focus on the litigation for the department.
But are you aware of the case and its significance? I mean, do you know what it's about? Do you know anything about it?
I'd be happy to respond to any specific question you have.
Well, I'm surprised that you haven't at least heard of it. I mean, are you aware of the basics of the case?
I would ask that you remind me.
Missouri versus Biden is a case brought by my state against the Biden administration and various agencies of the government, including those who you had some portion overseeing, the Department of Justice, for their coordination with social media companies in censoring American speech. Is this ringing any bells yet?
It does.
Okay, good. Oh, I would certainly hope so. It is, to my knowledge, the first time that a series of federal courts, Federal District Court, Federal Court of Appeals, found that the White House directed the censorship of American speech and directly violated the First Amendment. Now, the court found, among other things, and there are voluminous trial findings here that were then affirmed on appeal in the Fifth Circuit, found that the White House directed these social media companies to take down posts that they didn't like, directed the social media companies to change or alter their censorship practices, that the FBI, that CISA, that the CDC, and a variety of other federal agencies regularly met with these social media companies and coerced them into carrying out the administration's censorship agenda. And that included people in my state who were censored. We had parents, according to the court's findings, parents in my state, in the greater St. Louis area, who had posts about school board meetings that were removed by Facebook. School board meetings that were removed at the direction of the White House and the FBI. I mean, this is really extraordinary. These companies, I should just say, already have too much power. These companies are, in my view, a scourge in this country. But to have the federal government use the companies as their instrumentality to censor American speech is unbelievable. Were you aware of this happening while you were at the Justice Department?
I was not involved in litigation on behalf of the Justice Department.
Were you aware of the actions happening? Were you aware that the White House, the Justice Department, the FBI, CISA, the CDC were meeting with social media companies?
I was not.
What would you advise the White House to do in the wake of this ruling?
Well, I think all Americans and all parties to litigation have to comply with court orders. I know the Justice Department has a litigation process where the Civil Appellate Division, the Office of the Solicitor General handles litigation on behalf of the department. There certainly has been a lot of litigation involving states, including yours. And so, one, you follow the order of the court, and you follow the process on appeal.
But do you think that this is a problem? I mean, do you think it's a problem that the White House, the FBI, the CDC, CISA has been found by multiple federal courts now to have violated the First Amendment with respect to the speech of individual Americans? I mean, does that strike you as problematic?
I certainly believe that everyone needs to follow court orders. So if there's been a court finding and a court directive, then all Americans, including the federal government, need to adhere to the court directive.
Well, do you think it's appropriate for the White House and other members of the federal government to meet with social media company executives and officials and try to coerce them to carry out the speech agenda of the White House? Do you think that's appropriate?
Well, I think what's appropriate is that every federal employee follow the law, respect and honor the First Amendment, don't engage in improper censorship. So to that extent, I agree with you that conduct has to be lawful and constitutional.
Were you consulted at any time in the last 2 years about meetings with social media companies, interfacing with social media companies, policy towards social media companies in any way?
Well, my office did play a coordinating role to combat human trafficking. And so I'm not aware of any specific meetings, but I know we were one aspect of combating human trafficking.
What about combating so-called misinformation, disinformation, malinformation?
Right. I was not involved in that.
And the Office of Legal Policy has given no advice on that at any time, to the White House, to the Attorney General, to the DAG?
No. Again, you've got the civil appellate, Office Solicitor General, Office Legal Counsel. That type of issue might have fallen in one of those bailiwicks.
So your testimony to this committee is you were completely outside of the loop on this at all times. You knew nothing about it. You didn't play any role in it. Your office didn't play any role in any of these meetings with social media companies, and you were not consulted about it at any time.
That's correct.
Okay.
Again, other than on efforts to combat human trafficking.
And did that involve any requests to change the moderation policies, so-called, of any of these companies, to your knowledge?
Not to my knowledge, Senator.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, my time has expired. I just want to note again for the record, the reason I raised this with you, Mr. Dellinger, is you were in a very senior leadership position at the Department of Justice. And this is very serious. It is very serious when the American people can't go online and post about a school board meeting and not have the White House censor their speech. I mean, we're not going to have a democracy if you cannot speak in this country. And it wasn't one issue. I advise you to read the case. It was COVID, it was elections, it was school boards, it was the Hunter Biden laptop story, it was everything. It was anything that the White House did not like, that it would label disinformation, malinformation, who knows what. Anything they didn't like, they would go to these companies, and the companies remarkably just complied. Of course, they coerced them to do it, but I'm sure the companies actually enjoyed doing it because they enjoy the power. The problem is the only people who don't have power in this scenario are the American people. They're the ones who get screwed in this. And I can just tell you, if we can't have free speech in this country, we can't have free elections in this country, and we don't have a democracy. And the fact that you were in a leadership position at the Department of Justice while this is going on gives me serious, serious pause. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
This isn't just about politics, this is about the fundamental right of free speech in our democracy. If we can't speak freely, can we truly call ourselves a free society? Hey, if you believe in protecting free speech, do me a favor. Smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell. We need more people aware of what's really happening behind the scenes. Stay informed, stay critical, and I'll catch you in the next video.